clearly talks about celestial flesh. I didn't make that up. There are heavenly bodies and there are earthly bodies. A body is basar. It really has an implication to it. And there's a difference. He's saying, that there is an earthly body. The ones that live below live in these earthly body suits. The ones that live above live in these celestial body suits. And if the Nephilim below, were able to leave huge imprints on our planet, megalithic structures that we are just discovering all over the place, and with imaging, they're finding pyramids. We once thought were hills and mountains are really just pyramid shaped. There's a lot. If they can do that, and these we know Nephilim or fallen angels, a watcher angel or a Nephilim coming down the pike, can leave huge imprints. Is that the right word? Or structures or archaeological evidences of their existence. How can we say so categorically that such a thing is not true in celestial habitational places like wandering stars, which is what these quote-unquote planets are, Mars, okay? Because I think we don't really have a full picture yet, especially in the physics of what we're dealing with, okay? The Bible, especially, and it is my contention that the ancients, the Hebrews, that this whole line of Kabbalah goes all the way back to Adam. This is a lot of the understanding that Adam had because he was operating on and this is the primordial Adam, and before he fell, so to speak, the one who named the animals. I mean, there's just so much to all this anyways. He was operating on mental planes, whatever his brain was capable of holding, all of the knowledge, not of just the physical world, this is the point, but of all of the world's realms, dimensions, whatever you want to call them, okay? So here we go. Let me just read this. This is, okay, so there's something that just reoccurs constantly in ancient literature. It is in your Bible all the time, and people they just blow over these phrases, but I'm not blowing, I'm going to unpack them. There are things that are called the four worlds. You can call it the four heavens. You can call it the four universes. It is called the four elementals. It is called the four rivers. It is called the four arches. It is called the four corners. It is called, okay? So there are four very specific realms that are functioning under the throne of God, okay? Where is it? And they are habitations for living beings, okay? I didn't write the book, but that's the complete total implication of the text. And these in the celestial are really souls that are not clothed in earth suits. This is really, but they're energies. Okay, we won't get hung up on the semantics. Let's just deal with some of the concepts that we're dealing with. Paul says that there is entities, okay, in heavens, on earth, flat or not, whatever, in the sea, okay, and under the earth. And this is when you understand that Kabbalistically, we are not talking about the lower level life forms. We're not talking about little insects, little creatures boring under the ground. We are not talking about fish in the sea. We're not talking, about birds in the air. We are talking about races, species of living beings that Yah created that populate these realms. Okay? Flat out. But see, if we don't have something, we don't understand this, when the enemy makes his move and he just kind of pulls back his little, like his portal, he comes in with it's just going to blow people away. Okay? They're not going to have any, because all of the ancient mythologies have been repackaged to us I don't even want to go down that rabbit trail. Okay, so in Kabbalah, though, there is this concept, the four worlds, the four heavens, whatever you call it. It's found in the deeper levels of Torah. These concepts are encrypted into words that at the first level, like I said, heaven, nobody's denying that there's not atmospheric heaven, and then there's heavens. Even in the firmament, there's different levels to this thing. Nobody's denying that on earth, it's like teeming with life, okay? In the sea, it's teeming with life, okay? But, okay, so this is one of the concepts here. The 22 paths and the 10 sephirah, okay? If you're studying your Hebraic understandings, they believe, and I believe, because it can be mathematically proven, and it can be philosophically argued, okay, different ways, that there are 22 paths and 10 sephirah make 16 tribes within the tree of life. I want to go there. Hebrew letters form a series of three-letter roots, DNAs, the building blocks of the Hebrew language. In other words, this is sort of scientific, in my opinion, extremely scientific way of how God formed, how the light of Ein Sof, God, Yahweh Elohim, moved progressively further away from its source, into a realm of more and more density or more and more physical realities when you get down here, and as it happened, more and more laws were necessary, okay? Now, there are four words that are constantly used amongst the ancients: spirit, breath, and air. And ancients, I'm talking about our patriarchs who wrote our Bible, plus it totally spills over into a lot of world religious, mythological religious writings, and a lot of even the way the occultists use these words. These words were not at all foreign, okay? Spirit, breath, and air is the highest level of the emanation. It is the eternal, uncreated, unchanging place of Yah, okay? And it's kind of pretty much unknowable. Who in this place, who's seen God, okay? This is a whole, okay? But you come down, and this is referred to as spirit, breath, air. As you come down, like I said, progressively further away from the source, you come into a world of creation, which is considered heavens. It is the first separation from the divine. It is referred to as a place of water. These are the upper waters. It is referred to a place as where the throne of God and the archangels and the four elements, the four rivers, are emanating, are coming down from here. This is a place of water, okay? This is really, now then you come down to, and they have names in the Hebrew. This is Azalut is the first level, the unchanging divine world, the uncreated of emanation. Beria, which is the first word, creation. Remember, because if you read in Isaiah, I mean, it's all there. If we do it, he created, he formed, and he made. And that's exactly, it's a way of starting the different levels. This thing is coming down. These are different processes, but along in each process, there's a whole world. There's a whole operating, functioning ecosystem, divine world that's running. That's, when he talks about the heavens, he talks about, especially the one over us with the sun and the moon and the stars, it's like the clock over us. That is a really precise, unchanging machine. I mean, that sun does, okay, anyways. Okay, Beria is the world of creation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's what he means. The upper waters, Lord, he separated a place for the angels and a place for men, whatever, the Adamics and everybody else, whatever. Then you come into this world of formation, which is Yetzirah, which is fire. Its elemental name is fire. It's the abode of the lower angels, men's souls, and the Garden of Eden. Now, all of those are huge things that have to be unpacked. I'm just touching on them, okay? But in the world of Asaya, if I'm saying these right, is the world of earth, matter, materiality, corporality, carnal, as I've always said, the world of action, the material universe, okay? So if you're talking about a cosmology, this is my thing. If you're kind of trying to keep this thing, defining this thing, and and trying to figure out a science that works in this thing that is only according to a material universe. You're missing 2/3 of what's going on. And I will tell you a little secret. Those fallen angels who gave mankind a lot of information that has caused a lot of our problems, they know a lot more about those 3 other universes and its math and how it functions and its physics and all this kind of stuff. And believe me, they're not the ones that are going to reveal the truth of what's going on. They're going to try to set a trap for us. So that's why I would never be so categorically saying, okay, because all right, so anyways, let me go into this now, this concept, because I want to say it here another way, because I always use a computer analogy of these things, like, because I just think it works, or let me, I can kind of wrap my mind around it. But let me give you this in one more way, okay, the elements, because see, and this is my point too, this guy, all this witchcraft, sorcery, all this understanding is being repackaged and coming back in Wiccan. A lot of the whole problem in the pagan world, this is the whole thing. There are forces, there are things that you can access and tap into that can give you, little mortal person, greater power. But you know what? This is what God has always tried to say, and because He is invisible, He can give you He is the greatest power source. Just tap into Him. You don't need it. First of all, it's condemned in the Bible for very good reasons. The second thing is, and I just want to tell you this as an aside, because there's a whole other coin to this thing. I'll get into Baal Shem Tov, who is one of the great forerunners of a lot of esoteric knowledge, again, that started to come back on the radar too. He had a lot of understanding, and he could do a lot of crazy miracles. If you study that guy's life, he did a lot of stuff. But at the end of his day, he said, you know what? He had grown up into the place where he did not rely on his knowledge and his understanding. He relied just on pure, basic faith in Yah. That if he was in a tight spot, or if he needs some angels to save his sore butt from something, whatever, just rest in the Lord. Bring your petition, let it be. That's what the guys in the fire, Meshach, said, look at, if we perish, we perish. If He saves us, He saves us. Okay? I'm not going to, let God be true. Put your trust in the Lord and in His mighty power. That's the bottom line basic. So, you know, you're doing yourself a disservice by going into any school out there of philosophy or witchcraft, anything to try to get things, when God is your God, a Father of love. It's just so much better to go to Him. That's all I can say. All right. Whew. There's just so much in all this stuff. Which is, okay, so the elements of air, which I said, breath, air, spirit, is the element of air. It's the world of the mind. See, this is the point we call the mind of Christ, another phraseology for the Ruach, because the mind of Christ, I will tell you right now, if you study out Christ, Christos, it's the anointing. It refers to oil. It refers to the highest level of wisdom and understanding that you can have, okay? It is not fleshly or sensual. It comes from any of the lower orders. It is the mind of God, okay? And this is what it is. It's your thoughts, your ideas, your imagination, your memory, your attitudes, your concentration. Okay, it is the world of the mind. Okay, and that's why I say I have the mind of Christ. Okay, that's the program that I want to be running in my mind. Okay, then you come down to the element of water, which is, like we said, the second world, which is water, which is Berea, which is considered to be the world of the emotions. Because, see, I'll tell you a little secret. This is, if we understand all this stuff, this is the whole idea of the tree analogy. This is the whole kind, this is how, see, that God is a unity, even though there's a lot of working parts and everything, they all relate to each other. They're all interfacing. And, but there is a pecking order, so to speak. We know that archangels are still under Yeah, you know, even though they're much greater than anything else, there's a pecking order, okay? So when you get down to the element of water, the world of emotions, relationships, Okay, and this is when a lot of the ancients, they use language like they'll say water is a child of air, because we're progressing down, and it isn't really, this is the, because you can't think of these things like it's very spatial, it's very hard in your mind to grasp these things, because God is not contained, he fills everything all the time, so, you know. Okay, but anyways, element of water, world of emotions, relationships. Water is the child of air. Our mind is the basis of our emotions. In other words, love, apathy, peace, anger, fear, joy, you know, these things are the world of emotions, okay? Then you come down again into the world of fire. And this is another whole thing, and this is another whole thing that's getting unpacked today, coming front and center, which is a good thing. And this is, again, don't be so quick to make a judgment. The whole serpent seed doctrine is coming out again front and center, and there is so much esoteric that truly is one of those really adult-themed, esoteric wisdom, you know, divine knowledge, secret things that it's time for it to come out. It's time, okay? So don't make a quick, just hear all the evidence, use the mind of Christ, let the Ruach lead you into all truth, okay? I got to hurry up because I want to get to my last point here. The fire, because it is in fire that the fall happened. It is in this world that we get most of our problem entities are in this category, okay? Element of fire, it is a child, so to speak, both of air and water. It is your emotions. It is your thought. It is your passions, your drive, your force, your energy, your zeal. It is your passions. Fire is where we need control, because I'll tell you a little secret. It was Eve desired the fruit. The serpent. Okay, see, desire. This is an area. This is also, okay, so I'm not going to go, I'm just going to leave it there. She was operating in fire. You think, okay, element of earth, the physical manifestation. And that's why by the time we get down to earth, it's like anything, if you think everything is here on the earth plane that's going on and you don't understand that there's so much interaction going on, I can't help you, okay? Now, I just want to go into this thing really quick, because I had to do a checkup, and I'm asking you to sort of do a checkup from the neck up. It's always a good idea sometimes to see if you are, in your scriptural interpretations, if you're really doing it right, okay? Word rightly divided. So let me just go through a couple of these quick things. Scriptural interpretations, this is what we need, again, by the Hebrews. They're the ones, Judah has kept all this, and the sages have come up with tried and true ways to keep track, whether it's esoteric, whether it's midrash, whether it's history, whether it's poetry, whatever it is, they have rules of exegesis, okay? So we can't, as Gentile Christians, just be making it up. And the biggest trap that we fall into is objective versus subjective. Now, Gentile Christian, let me just ask you this. How many times have you been in a Bible study and you'll read the verse and they'll say to you, oh, so what do you think it means to you? As if you have any say in God's interpretation. I mean, what do we think? I mean, okay, subjectivity comes from a person's point of view. And this is what they try to, that everything is equal, that your interpretation is just as good as God. See, what I'm trying to say is, no, there is a truth, there is a standard, it is very much laid out by our sages, and you can attain it if you will climb the rungs, Jacob said, orderly, precept by precept, okay? And you can't jump ahead. Well, maybe you'll get some revelation sometimes, that's always helps, but okay, even Beth Moore said, just enough light for the step I'm on, okay? Instead of it, the Jew would say, okay, if I were not here and what would the verse mean? In other words, it's objective. You have no bearing on it, okay? Now, there's a couple of things, this is a big trap. So to correct this understanding, there's objectivity, is letting the text speak to you, or in context versus exegesis, if I'm saying this right, which is reading one's own ideas into the text, okay? It doesn't matter what I think it means. Oh my gosh, okay? Now, there's the science of argumentation. And this is something this is something that was very developed in the ancient world. This is Paul and the Greeks. This is a lot of him. The science of argumentation, which is the science of discourse and dialogue, which is what we call rhetoric. Okay, rhetoric is the art of discourse, and we should learn some of this stuff because it does help to have a much more civilized and informed discussion, where a writer or speaker strives to inform, persuade, motivate. They had rules to this. You had to have so much information. You had to go really from precept to precept. Okay, Paul was a master at this. He was a theological lawyer. He was a Pharisee. This is the whole point. And he formulated some pretty complex arguments, which, as Peter even said, who was a master Kabbalist himself and Essene, were hard to understand. Okay, so it is easy for an unlearned individual to twist or distort. And that is the whole premise of why Ezra was told something. You just got to keep it secret until time because, I mean, it's already distorted enough as it is. Can you imagine? Okay. This is a lot of Aristotelian and Greek, but it's a very tried and true kind of way, and it comes from the Hebrews, are masters at this. Okay, but it's when it refers to rhetoric, it's not talking about a heated discussion between two people where they're just screaming at each other. It is a putting forth of a series of points, point by point, to a conclusion, very orderly, very thought through. Okay. Now, we have a lot of common errors in the way we, Gentiles, a lot of times approach their scriptures. Proof texting, 1 or 2 verse theology. Oh my gosh, that's, okay, we're not under the law. I mean, you just take out one phrase and that's it. Well, Jesus says we're not under the law. Well, you have no idea what you're talking about, okay? There's circular reasoning. The premise is only true if the conclusion is true, okay? Circular reasoning, again, a premise to New Testament Christians. I'll give you one. New Testament Christians say they're under grace and not under law, and that grace and law are mutually exclusive concepts. Well, that's circular reasoning, okay? Instead of understanding there's a whole concept called grace, a whole concept, neither one was done away with. You have to, each one has to be understood in its context. Okay, now there's false conversion, the premise, the mistake of presuming that if a proposition is true, then the reverse of that proposition is also true. Here again, I have an example. Oh my gosh, I got 2 minutes left. There's no way I'm going to get through this. Some of these different traps or common errors that people fall into but one of them, just let me say these last 2 ones. There is what's called an appeal by force. This error occurs when a proposition is accepted as true, not because it is the result of sound argument, but because of a threat of punishment if the presupposition is true. In other words, excommunicated. And this is when you draw a line in the sand, If you're flat earth, you believe this. If you're the side, there's no common ground anymore. That is a very, very bad trap to fall into, and don't do it. Don't excommunicate people. Okay? So I have a lot of these to go through, which I'm not going to have time to. But my point is, I don't think we're at a place yet, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth. I'm a free agent under Yahweh, and I'm not saying thus saith the Lord, but as I understand it, I think there's a lot of more information that still needs to come front and center, and people still there's still whole pieces of this puzzle that people need to explore if they're going to get back to the meat of the word, the true understanding. They're going to have the adequate oil in their lamp when it's go time. Okay? So on that note, I'm going to say good night, God bless. I pray that, there is no other name under heaven where men can be saved, okay? And that includes on the earth, okay? He is over all the realms. And it says that everything is going to bow. And it's what it says, really, which is kind of funny. Everything in earth, on the earth, under the earth, they're all going to bow. So you might as well just bow now and acknowledge that Yeshua is truth. And I don't understand. He is truth, and he is the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father. I'm not talking religion. I'm strictly talking relationship. If you're a truth seeker and you really want it, you will be blessed. I guarantee you. If you will just humble yourself before the mighty God and his Son, in Yeshua's name, I just say peace.